Spirit, we ask your continued presence and indwelling within us and amongst us. May you tie us together, connect us with threads that cannot break, even when we strain them. May you continue to be within us, causing us to grow and to flourish. Amen. So for the past few sermons, I've been trying to point out the theme of our tendency as human beings to misunderstand value. And so we've had situations and stories from Scripture and examples that I brought up of situations where human beings, and it seems this is generally true, not all the time, but much of the time, not everywhere, but anywhere, that human beings misunderstand value, like consistently. That is, we value things that are not ultimately valuable, and we devalue or ignore or neglect things that are ultimately valuable. And sometimes we have like a crisis or something terrible that reminds us of this value. Sometimes that can come too late. Sometimes it comes in time. Sometimes we can look ahead and we can figure out we're valuing the wrong things and start to change. But this is one of the big themes I find in Scripture. In the Old Testament and the New Testament, cover to cover, one of the big themes is that we as humans, there's something about us that is just not good at valuation of the things in our lives, the relationships that we have, and so on. And it's consistent, such that it keeps coming up in story after story, that we misunderstand value. And that's kind of what I see when we return to these very familiar parables, the parable of the lost sheep, the parable of the lost coin. This may be the first time you're hearing these parables. For many of you, I imagine it is not. For me, it is not. But what sort of stood out to me this time around is how these are also stories of misunderstanding value. And that's kind of the point that Jesus is trying to make to his audience too, through these parables. He's trying to point out that the scribes and the Pharisees misunderstand the value of sinners and tax collectors. And they're mad that Jesus is wasting his time and becoming unclean, eating with them. And Jesus is trying to make the point, there's nothing to be upset about. These people are valuable. We take for granted a lot of things in our life. Like there are a lot of wonderful things in our life that we don't feel their goodness. We don't express appreciation for them on a regular basis, maybe in the way that we should. And one of the ways that we're reminded of these valuable things in our lives, or at least things that we value, is when we lose them. Like, have you had this experience of rising panic as you realize you can't find something and you think you've lost it? And it's in that moment that you realize how much it meant to you. Before you thought you lost this thing, it wasn't even on your mind. But as soon as you think you lost it, you're suddenly, like, your heart's racing and you're looking and maybe you're using adult language and you're tossing over things and trying to dig for it and find it. And that's the moment when you realize how much it meant to you. Now, hopefully you find this thing, whatever it is. And then suddenly, as you find this lost object, it's revealed as like a treasure. Oh, thank God I found it. I'm so thankful for this thing. So Jesus uses his parables to evoke this feeling in his audience of having lost the thing you took for granted and the search for it and the thanksgiving that you feel when you find it. He uses this example with the single sheep among the 100 sheep wandering off. From a certain point of view, you've lost 1% of your sheep. I don't know what the loss margin for sheep is. You had wolves and lions and sheep rustlers and natural death and disease, and who knows what kind of sheep loss you could expect in a year. 1% isn't Huge deal, probably. But when you lose that sheep, you suddenly value it. And you're like, I'm going to leave the 99 sheep and assume they'll be fine. I'm going to go find my lost sheep. When you find a lost sheep, you pick up the lost sheep and you put it on your shoulders, like a kid, and you carry it back. And you tell all your friends, I found my sheep. And they're like, yeah, okay, it's your sheep, great. And you have this big party to celebrate that you found your sheep. You're so thankful for this sheep. This sheep has probably not gotten this much positive attention in its whole sheep life. It's probably never been treated this great in its whole life. It's probably been just mostly ignored. But suddenly this sheep is the center of your attention, and this sheep is like, I am the best sheep. My shepherd loves me. This is wonderful. And maybe that's the way you should have been feeling about this sheep the whole time. We didn't realize it until the sheep was lost. And the real question there is, how have you been treating these sheep on a daily basis? It's the same situation with the loss of the 10 coins. The specific coins in the Greek there are drachma, which was like about a day's wage. So this woman has 10 drachma, she has 10 days' wage, and she loses one of those drachma. Which if you're working, at a minimum wage, it's about $60. So this woman loses at least $60, maybe a little more. And she tears apart her whole house looking for this drachma, looking for this $60. And you could look at it as it's a day's pay. It's not a huge deal. It's not going to make or break her economic life to find this coin, probably, hopefully. But she tears her house apart to find it. When she finally finds it, it's such a big deal. She finds this treasure. It's such a big deal that she brings her friends together and tells all of them, I found this coin, this drachma that I lost. Isn't this amazing? She rejoices. And again, before she lost the coin, it was probably just sitting, in a jar. Or sitting on a table. She probably didn't think about it and treasure it in that way until it was lost. And then suddenly she remembers, this is a thing of tremendous value. If you think about it, a day's pay isn't that much, but we all have a limited number of days. And we don't get any back. So after a day of labor, all I have to show for it might be that drachma. And so losing that drachma is almost like losing the day. And we don't get more tacked on at the end. We only get a set number of days. And maybe she reflects on that. Maybe she thinks about that as she's treasuring this drachma and talking to her friends and talking their ears off about how wonderful it is that she found it. And so Jesus tries to turn this same thinking to people. And he says, you can understand losing a sheep, and you find a sheep and the relief that you feel, and the joy that you have, and the appreciation you show this sheep. How much more so should we feel that way about people who are lost, and then we find them? Or you can identify with the idea of losing a coin, or some money, or something of monetary value, and you have that feeling of panic, and you tear your house apart, and you finally find it, and suddenly you treasure it. Jesus is saying to the scribes and Pharisees, how much more should we treasure people? If you get that excited over a sheep or a coin, these are human beings I'm having meals with. How could you question why I value them? But the scribes and Pharisees did consistently question why Jesus would value these people who were taken for granted, or ignored, or treated as unclean, or pushed out. In our reading from the Old Testament, thank you, Sue, for pointing out and for clarifying, this does come after the creation of the golden calf. So Moses goes up to the mountain and receives the 10 Commandments, and people down at the bottom of the mountain kind of think, Moses is probably dead. We're very thankful he brought us out of slavery, but we all know if you talk to God on that mountain that's covered with fire and smoke and flashing light, Moses is probably dead. So, idle hands, I guess. And And so they create this golden calf. And maybe this golden calf was Baal, a symbol of Baal, a Canaanite god. One of the symbols of him was a cow. Or maybe this golden calf was Hathor. Hathor was an Egyptian goddess that would appear in the shape of a cow. Or maybe this golden calf was the Wall Street bull. Maybe it looked just like it. Regardless, it was an act of idolatry. Whether it was Baal or Hathor or the Wall Street bull, it was idolatry, which is itself an act of misunderstanding value, of valuing wrong things, not understanding what it is you have to be thankful for, and being thankful to the wrong source. And so God sees this, and I think is understandably angry. God has put a great deal of effort into getting these people where they are, and has a plan, and has laid out the plan for them in certain terms, and here they are, misunderstanding value, treasuring the wrong thing, the wrong God, keeping the wrong values. And so God is furious. And God says, I love this line in the text. God says, leave me alone so I can smolder in my anger toward these people. Like, don't talk to me. I want to be angry. I want to sit here and sulk and simmer and broil and get really worked up. And so Moses has to change God's mind, which is Moses is not the first person to do this. Abraham also is an example of someone who had to change God's mind, or at least convince God to use a different plan. And there's an interesting detour here about how God is presented in different parts of the Bible as being, more or less changeable. But the point here is that Moses has to remind God of the value of these people. Say, God, you put all this effort into saving these people, and these are your people. You brought them out of Egypt. You don't want Egyptians to talk bad about you, to say you just brought them out for calamity. These are your people. And looking down at them, dancing riotously around a stupid golden calf, Moses had to acknowledge, yes, they don't deserve it. These people are not your people because they have earned it. But these people are your people. They are immeasurably valuable. And so God is like, okay, I'll try a different plan. Thank you, Moses, for reminding. So I thought about these parables of value. And I often try to figure out how to find something that parallels what's in the scripture readings, because we're not paid in drachmas, we don't raise sheep. Does anyone raise sheep? I shouldn't say don't. Does anyone raise sheep? I thought we didn't, but you never know. So I might be like, I'm a shepherd. But we do different things. We have different parables. We kind of worship a calf, but we hide it from ourselves, and that's a whole different sermon that I might revisit at some point. But I tried to find a parable that would fit this feeling that Jesus is trying to evoke. And I thought about, a few weeks ago, I was at a social gathering. It was a wine tasting. It sounds kind of weird to say I was at a wine tasting about many of them, but I was at this one. So I was at a wine tasting, and we're out on this nice porch. A few of you were there. And we're just kind of hanging out, talking, trying wine. I was drinking some mead because I really enjoy mead. I'm feel like a Viking. And having some snacks. So we hear people's phones going off with this kind of piercing, beeping chime. And it starts over here. People check their phones. Then it goes over here. People check their phones. It goes over here. People check their phones. Then it comes to me, and my phone rings. One of the last ones. Metro PCS, for whatever reason, was last in line. So I check my phone. We're all looking at our phones. And it's the Amber Alert. Have you had this experience where even if your notifications are turned off, which mine usually are, your phone still chimes for an Amber Alert or like a weather emergency? The two things. But this was an Amber Alert. And so we all get it. All of us who have our phones with us, which is almost all of us. And there's like this moment when And you look at your phone, what is this? Oh, it's an Amber Alert. And you look at the picture of this child and maybe a picture of the car he or she was last seen in, and a little bit of information about where the child was and a description of them and what to do if you see anything about them, right? And we've all agreed, like as a society, that this intrusion is acceptable. That none of us, I hope that none of us are grudgingly receiving Amber Alerts. I hope we can all generally agree that this is an okay use of a few moments of our time to look, and none of us had ever seen the child before, none of us had seen the car, we couldn't help. But we looked, and there's like this moment where we thought about, a child got abducted, or may have been abducted, or this is missing. I hope the child's okay. I hope someone finds them. I hope whoever, if someone did this, I hope they catch them. And we all had this moment where we were thinking about this. And in a few cases talking about it, just briefly. To me, that Amber Alert is like a parable. Because it isn't that suddenly this child had value. There's no change in the child, and whether the child is precious and irreplaceable. What changed is that we were reminded of it. We were suddenly reminded of the value that every child has all the time. The value that every adult has all the time because of this Amber Alert. And it gave us this moment together to remember that. I hope that we did. And it's really easy to forget that value. I mean, imagine this child's life. You know, has she ever experienced hunger? Can you imagine? 1 in 5 children do in the United States regularly experience hunger. So maybe she did. But we didn't notice that. Or was this child homeless? I know that I brought this up before, and we've talked about, as a congregation, what we can do in response. But as far as I know, there are still 50 homeless children who attend Phoenixville High School. Do we think about them every day? No. Doesn't mean they're not valuable. But we easily forget this value that they have. Or when in elementary schools now, in Royersford Elementary and in the Springford School District, little kids have Alice drills, which are active shooter safety drills. And so they learn not to clump together because it makes them a better target. So they learn to spread out. And they learn to lock and barricade doors, and they learn where they can escape to be safe, what windows they can climb out of, what doors they should use. They even learn, little kids learn, that if there's an active shooter in the room, to throw their toys at the active shooter, because it'll make them harder to shoot. And in letting it get to that point, I think that we have consistently forgotten the value that these children have. I mean, I wonder about, in an Amber Alert, it's an alert that a child has been taken from his or her parents and that they're in jeopardy. But right now, we are at the border, taking children from their parents. Tens of thousands of them at this point. There's no Amber Alert for that. It's just our immigration policy. What happened? How much did we have to forget to get to that point? It's a similar point that I see in the text. In our New Testament reading from Luke. We could ask, how could the scribes and Pharisees, presumably holy people, how could they forget that sinners and tax collectors are human beings, that they have dignity, that there's every reason Jesus should talk to them and have meals with them and care for them and give them his attention? Why are they angry? What kind of hypocritical people are they? Well, it seems to be human nature that we forget what is valuable. And that sometimes we have to be forcibly reminded. So this morning I leave you with the parable of the Amber Alert. A sudden reminder of the value that a particular child always had, but that we only notice when something bad has happened to them. I hope that these are not outliers or special events, but merely just a reminder of the immeasurable value that every person has every moment of every day, whether we notice them or not, whether we value them or not, whether we treat them well or treat them poorly. They always had that value that we suddenly feel in our guts when they're lost or when they're in danger. I hope it reminds us of the immeasurable value of people and the transitory value of everything else. And maybe we cannot wait until a loss or a crisis to remember and to treat people as having the value that they have, whether we notice or not.